I'm going to assume this is your phone number then, Piper? This is Gary's father, Barney. He gave me your phone number just a little bit ago, and that is why I'm able to text you now. There's something I'd like to ask you right now, before you and him get too carried away with wanting to get married. Would you be willing to give me a bit of your time right now?
This is Barney's dad? Well, you were given the right number because this is indeed me. I'm so happy to finally have a chance to talk with you, though. Go ahead and ask me anything. I hope that whatever it is you may be interested in, I can help you understand.
I heard that you happened to graduate from college and everything like that. Should I believe that to be a fact, then?
Yes, you should. I graduated from the Boston Tech, actually. I went there and got a bachelor's, but after graduating, I decided to work in the veterinary fields helping pets and other animals.
I see. Then that should mean there are no issues with your educational background.
I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you were wanting to ask me about today?
How were you raised by your parents before you entered Boston Tech? Of course, you graduated from high school and everything like that, but what was your GPA coming out of there?
So you want to know about my education before university as well? When I graduated from high school, I had a GPA of 3.9. That's partially why I was able to get into the university in the first place.
So that would mean you completed all of your studies and were able to put all of the knowledge you learned to the test in order to get into that university?
What do you mean by that? Of course I had to use all the knowledge I had gained from my studies in high school to get into college there. Did you think I had some kind of a connection or something? Nobody in my family had ever been there before me, nor did I have any friends there. The only thing that made me different from a lot of the other students that were accepted is that the high school I went to is managed by the university.
What? So you were bound to be accepted into the university? I wouldn't claim that you got into that school with your own strengths, then. There's a chance, then, that a lot of the people you were going to school with back in high school weren't all too smart. Not something I'd be proud of if I were you.
What? I'm sure that could be true. I'm sorry if I was sounding arrogant in any way there.
So? Does that mean you've been going to private schools all your life?
What? Private schools? I'm sorry. But both the elementary school and middle school that I went to were public. And some could even argue that the high school I was going to was public. I was going to whatever schools were in the town I grew up in at the time.
What? So you're saying you were going to such low-level schools? It's one thing to be proud of the fact that you got to go to Boston Tech for 4 years and graduate from there. But if your time in primary school was all spent in a public school, I can't believe you would be all right saying something like that to me.
Is going to public school back then really something to be surprised about?
In other words, your parents didn't have enough money to send you to a private school? Or could it be that you weren't smart enough for those schools?
Hold on. Back in the town where I was from, there were no private schools besides the all-girls school, but I didn't really need to go there back then. Actually, the public school system in that town is rated as one of the top public school systems in the state. And everyone from there all went to the same schools together. We all stuck together from elementary school all the way to high school. That was normal for us. And I kind of thought going to public school was a normal thing for everyone.
I see. So that's the kind of family and town you were raised in. Are you still living together with both of your parents right now?
No, actually, when I started to go to college, I began living on my own. And I started to go out with your son not too long after, when one of our friends introduced us to one another. Since we've both been pretty far away from you and your wife, Gary's never really been able to show me to either one of you. And, well, now that we're out of school and engaged to each other, we thought it was time for me to finally go out and meet with you. Hence why we made the plans for me to come with him to your guys' house. Which I'm very excited about, since that'll be in a few days.
Is that right? Well, considering that you did graduate from a university that is pretty well known and are currently working for a company that is also pretty well known, I'll allow you to come over to our house and see my wife and I. But there are some things about you that I can't quite lay my finger on just yet. I have a lot more that I'd like to talk with you about when you come to see us, so make sure you're ready for some long discussions with my wife and I.
Okay. Then I'll make sure to get some rest then. I look forward to seeing both you and your wife in a few days.
You really make such big deals out of nothing! Huh. A little bit over dramatic, are we? Huh. All I did was give you a soft punch, and you've had to run off and hide in the bathroom? I knew that a woman such as yourself would not be fit for a son like mine.
That was a soft punch to you? My jaw has gone completely stiff now, and there's a massive gash on the inside of my cheek. There is still a bunch of blood coming out of my mouth, and the pain is really radiating into my skull. Why would you do something like this?
Why would I? I'm sure you already know why, right? You think I was going to let my son, the son of a family of well-renowned police officers, marry a disgraceful, motherless child?
I can't believe you'd say that. My dad has done everything he could to make sure that I was raised just like everyone else who still has their mom still. I don't think you should be talking poorly about either one of us.
Is it painful for you to be punched? Are you gonna cry and whine about how it was unfair of me to punch you like that? Go ahead, give your worthless father a call and bring him out here. Cry, Daddy! Daddy, help me! Tell him that you're in trouble with the police now!
Is that what you'd like me to do? So be it. I guess I'll give my dad a call. I'll make sure that he makes an example out of you, Barney.
Ooh! Go ahead and call his ass out here right now! I bet all he's good at is using his body to work at some kind of labor-intensive job, right? Does he even have a brain up there? Go ahead and have him come out here, because I want to see what kind of muscular dumbass your father is! Just make sure he knows the moment he even tries to inflict any violence towards me, he's gonna get shot!
I think you should cut that childish behavior of looking down on others like that out right now. Oh, what just happened there? I am so sorry about. I never thought that your father would be... Oh, that your father would end up being the chief of the state police! I told your husband what would happen. That my dad would be coming out here to make a very good example out of him. Sure, my dad may be very large and muscular, but thankfully these days he's a bit more relaxed after having left the military. But did you guys not stop to think that perhaps my dad was the real deal and could actually do something about your husband's actions? I didn't think your father would be... I didn't think that the chief of the state police would be coming to our house today. As part of our family of renowned police officers, I am so happy to have him here. And thinking now that the daughter of the chief of the state police would be getting married to our son, now that both my husband and I are aware of who your father is, we have no problem with you marrying our son. Please tell your father that we are looking forward to seeing him again and talking more in depth about your guys' marriage. Deborah, I don't understand how you can say such a thing like that now, after your husband just got taken away by the state police. Just as my dad said, all of your family who are working for the city's police force will now be relieved of your duties and forced to find other work. Do you understand what that means for you, Deborah? That means that you can no longer sit there acting as though you're tough crap just because some of your family has been on the city's police force all their lives. I'm sure we could do something. What my husband did to you, punching you in the face, was his fault, as he didn't consult with anyone else before doing such a thing. The rest of us have nothing to do with his choices, so please don't let your father do this to us. To have all of us fired together like that. Oh, please tell me that he was just joking about all of that. You're making it look like the family never cared for your husband at all and are completely fine with tossing him out. But I saw everything, Deborah. The rest of you didn't step in to do anything about your husband when he struck me. You all just stood back and watched it happen. And you stood there smiling and laughing through your nose. And when I hit the ground and let out a scream, you started to laugh even more, before realizing that the blood from inside my mouth was falling onto your carpet. When you began to yell at me, not your husband, about the blood staining your precious carpeting. And what was it you said before I ran off? Don't stain my carpet with your dirty, low-life blood. You were the one that said that to me as I scrambled back up and ran off. And as I wobbled left to right, trying to make it down the hallway, you stood there laughing. Because then you were... Well, then you weren't the daughter of the chief of the state police to me. I didn't know any better then. I assumed you were nothing more than the scum my family arrests all the time, and thought it would fit the atmosphere to laugh. But soon after, your father showed up in a state police cop car. That's right. He sure did make an entrance, didn't he? And when he stepped out to see how shocked all of you were from seeing my dad, I was entertained. I never thought that us humans could make such a face that could show just how scared we really were. Piper, of course I've learned my lesson, but so has my husband. That's why... Can you please go to your father and let him know that we are both very, very sorry for the way we behaved today? Sorry for the way you behaved? Tell me, why would you be sorry for that? I thought you both intentionally acted like that, knowing very well what you were doing to me. Because we didn't know at the time that my husband was punching the daughter of the chief of the state police. And due to our misunderstandings, we said some very immature things to you about yourself and your father. I want you and your father to both know that had we known you were his daughter, something like this would have never, ever happened to you. Don't you find what you said just then a little odd? Does that mean if I weren't the daughter of the chief of the state police, your husband punishing me would have been warranted? That's what you just said to me, right? That's why you thought it was okay to laugh at me after being assaulted and told me to get my blood off your carpet, right? Now wait. I said that was... My family is a family of renowned police officers, which means we wanted to make sure our son would be married to someone of a similar background. That's why when you said you were raised by your single father, we didn't think you would be a good enough wife for our son. Is that right? Well, I guess everyone has their own way of thinking, don't they? That would mean that your family's way of thinking and my family's way of thinking are completely different from one another. Just like my dad was saying, you all need to be punished for your actions immediately. Why, Piper? Don't you still love our son to the point that you want to marry him? I'm telling you that you're allowed to marry him now if you'd like. So shouldn't you be trying to flatter us in some way now? About what I think about your son now? You're better off just forgetting that I ever was in love with him. I mean, that love I had for him waking up this morning is all gone now thanks to that punch your husband landed on me. What? What do you mean by that? I meant exactly what I just said. Did you see your son today doing anything to come and help me after my jaw was punched and I was bleeding everywhere? Tell me right now, what did he do to protect me from his mom and dad? Did he do something for me even? No, I don't think he did jack. Actually, the one thing he did do was smile and laugh along with you so that you guys wouldn't get upset with him. He just acted like that because our family is very strict. And when it comes to his father, what he says goes. Which means if my husband wasn't happy with you at all, neither was my son. He knew at the time there wouldn't be a chance of marrying you anymore, so there was no need for him to help protect you. And since that's the case, I don't give a damn about your son anymore. Now he's gone and really upset me because instead of even showing a little bit of care for me by asking if I was okay, he just stood there listening to and agreeing with you both. And right before your husband punched me, what did your son say again? What did Gary say? Why didn't you tell me earlier that your dad was a single parent? That right there really pissed me off, but I couldn't show that anger because the next thing I knew, my lights were knocked out for a couple of seconds. There was no helping that. He was just as shocked as the rest of us were. And now you're saying that you won't marry him because of that? Are you really that picky of a woman? Yes, I am, actually. Because if I were to go ahead and still marry a man which I know despises me, who knows what would happen between us later on? You really think I'm going to be that stupid? That's why I'm backing down from marrying him now. And thank God I learned about the true Gary now before it was too late. No way. Oh, there's no way this could be happening. Yeah, seriously. There's no way something like this could be happening. Getting punched in the face just because my dad is a single parent? And it's not like I was trying to hide that from anyone anyway. Nobody ever really asked about my parents, even Gary, so I never talked about them. And now, after really putting some thought into all of this, your son must have never really been into me that much anyway. I think he just wanted to marry because he's young and found me to be his easiest option after college. Oh, that's not true at all. Hey, we all share some roots in things like the police force, so you have to understand what was going through our minds, right? We can get over all of this together and act as though nothing serious ever happened. I think we can all laugh about this in the future, so please, Piper, find some way to go to your father and let him know that we're all sorry and would like him to forgive us. No. What you should have been starting with is an apology for punching me in the face. I was punched in the jaw by a man 3 times my size, and that threw me 5 feet into your wall and onto the floor. My jaw is still not able to move without serious pain, and the inside of my cheek is so badly cut up that it'll need some stitches. From what I can see, my jaw is probably broken, and that's why it keeps throbbing so badly. I'm telling you right now that I will be taking your husband to court and winning a settlement from him. I think what he did, he took things way too far then. But you were the one that never told any of us before that your father is a single parent, right? Also, you never told anyone about the fact that your father is the chief of the state police. There were plenty of very important things you forgot to tell us, or chose not to mention, that got us into this predicament, right? I can see here that I can no longer talk with you people. You people? I told you none of you ever asked me about my parents or about what my dad does. You all just assumed one thing or another and went with it, basing all of your choices off of it. And what the hell is so wrong with me not having a mom around anyway? It's a pretty common thing these days, so I would never actually try to hide it from anyone. It was just something that never got brought up. I mean, if you all really cared that much about someone else's parents, why didn't you start by asking me about them a long time ago? I think before you started any of this crap, you maybe should have wondered why you cared so much when your son isn't anything special. He's just your basic office worker, for crying out loud. You never saw my dad or I complaining about him, right? If you want to blame someone for all of this, start with your son, who's a complete idiot and never really showed any interest in my family in the first place. My dad is pissed that his only child was just punched in the face by a man who claims to be a renowned police officer. If my dad wasn't in a higher position than you all, I wonder how things would be playing out for me right now. For my dad right now. I hope that my dad does everything in his power to make sure you all learn from what you've done today. Now, if you all have any more complaints about what's happening next, take it up with my dad instead of me, please. I'm cutting ties to you all now and will no longer bother with any of you.
Long time no see, Piper. The reason why I'm talking with you again after so long is because I have something to ask from you.
Who are you again?
I'm your previous fiancé's father, Barney. I am sorry for all the troubles that I had caused for you back then. So very sorry.
And what would you like from me now? I have a scar across the bottom of my jaw and had to spend 2 months drinking my food. It was one hell of a time after that surgery. Have you finally found the courage you didn't have years ago that will allow you to apologize to me? After that day, I never heard anything from you about being sorry.
Ever since that day, I've felt so sorry for what I'd done and regret every bit of it. After that, I was forced to step down from my position on the police force and was taken into custody by the state police. Thereafter, I never had the time to ever get in touch with you again because I had so much going on myself.
Tell me why you're messaging me now, then. What could you possibly want with your victim of assault years after the incident?
I understand that it's been a couple of years now since all of that, unfortunately, went down. And that's why I would like to properly apologize to you now for it.
That's not at all why you're texting me, Barney. You just told me you had something to ask of me, right? A favor? I don't remember you guys ever being so well behaved, so of course there's something more to all this. So, what do you want from me?
My son Gary, he was arrested for molesting someone.
What? Wait, are you kidding me?
It seems that he had this sudden impulse or something. He had always been raised to respect the law, considering his whole family is known for being in the police force. But after I was arrested, perhaps he lost faith or something in the system. Recently, I was always wondering why he seemed very off, like he no longer trusted anyone.
Absolute pile of trash, isn't he? I must have been in a really dangerous place going out with him and getting engaged to him. To think I was this close to becoming the wife of a molester. So I can see you got over your pride and managed to tell me that about your boy. What do you want from me?
Being arrested over something like molestation, that's something that is not taken well at all in this world. If he were to be charged with that in court soon, he would have that on his permanent record for life, and that would ruin any chance of succeeding in life for him. So I had thought that maybe somehow with the help of your father's power in... Do you think you could get your father to remove the charges that are being held against him?
Huh? You all really are the scum of the earth, aren't you? I'm not doing that crap for you. I won't, I can't, I have no reason to.
Don't say something like that, please, Piper. Just this. Please, just do something about this. I don't think my son did anything wrong to begin with. He was just trying to go out with you and make plans for marriage at the time. Had I never stepped in the way of that dream he had, then right now he'd be married to the daughter of the chief of the state police. My whole family of police officers would all be on top of the world with the help of your father's status. But because of the needless crap that I pulled years ago...
Well, what do you know? You seem to have finally come around to blaming yourself. Well, you're right. That is why everything in your life is all screwed up now. Had you never used and abused your name as a renowned police officer, then you all would be living pretty decent lives and not have to be worried about your son, the molester. I'm sure you guys would even be considered some of this state's finest.
And I don't think it's too late for us just yet. If you and your father help us here, we won't ever bite back at you guys like we've done before again. We will do everything you guys say, so please do something to help us here.
From all the crap I've heard coming out of your mouth, not one bit of it was worth my time. Also, I don't think my dad or I can see any possible reason to stick our necks out for you guys when there is nothing in it for either of us.
We can make something work. I'll make sure my son repays you both in some way.
We don't have a need for whatever your son has to offer us. Molesting someone is a very serious offense and will land him in jail, I presume. Why did you think that begging a stranger to help you bail him out of that would work in your favor? And why did you think something like touching another person's body without their permission was a crime my dad would be fine with overlooking? Perhaps it's because you're a prejudiced man that doesn't understand us women. But even if your disgusting son was pardoned from his crimes or bailed out by my dad, everyone would still know about what he's done, as it's on the news, and not a single woman would want to be with him. I just looked up what happened, by the way, and the girl Gary touched was 14. Do you know how scared she must have been when that happened to her? I think your son is going to either be paying her a lot of money for what he's done, or rotting away in prison for touching an underage girl, most likely both.
But it was really just a sudden urge.
And so what? I thought you all worked for the police here. Did you all just let robbers, killers, and molesters get away because they said it was just a sudden urge? He should not be forgiven for what he's done, that pile of crap. And you should be forced to suffer some more alongside him. I could send screenshots of this conversation to both my dad and the judge right now and see what happens to you.
My son has really learned that what he'd done was wrong, though. That's why, just this time, I'm asking you to...
I don't give a damn. That freak needs to pay for his disgusting crimes. That's how this stuff works. Sure, he may feel bad for what he's done now, but he has not been punished yet. And he won't be a changed man until that punishment has been inflicted upon him. And one last thing. If Gary was wanting to feel up another girl like that so badly, then maybe he should make some money and hire a prostitute. Why do you think there are women out there making so much money doing things like that? Because there are plenty of freaks like your son that need their fix.
No way. I understand. I get that my son is a freak now, but ever since that day your dad came to our house, we've been at a loss. My son was forced to get himself a new job working part-time, and his pride was ruined. And myself, I had to lose my job as a police officer and serve time for what I did to you. Without me, my son had to go through that hard time alone, and that's what led him to committing such a filthy crime.
Everyone goes through hard times, you dick. But not everyone goes out and molests others because of it. I don't care how hard it may have been on you guys. You all deserved what you got. So stop acting like you guys don't deserve all that you've gotten, because you are not the victims. You are all criminals that my dad has been working so hard to get rid of, and I will not step in and jeopardize his mission.
We didn't mean to. I'm really so sorry.
I really do not have the time to care about your bullcrap anymore. You all being complete idiots is not something I am responsible for. You all were raised to think that what you were doing was okay, so now you're going to have to deal with the outcome of your actions. I don't think any of you guys deserve to be on the street anymore, to be honest. Thinking that you are the victims of everything when it doesn't benefit you? I hope you and your whole family of scum go and rot in hell for the rest of the time. Gary quickly became known as the disgusting molester child of his ex-police officer family. His father, once respected in the force, was powerless to help him, leaving Gary to wait in his jail cell for the trial where he'd face the girl he touched on the bus. Around the same time, Barney, who had recently been messaging me, was dealing with his own issues. He had just gotten out of prison after serving time for punching me. His wife Deborah stayed with him, but was forced to take on 3 jobs to support their household. The rest of their family cut ties with them after losing their positions on the police force. A few years ago, after being assaulted, I went to the ER for jaw surgery. That visit changed my life when I met my surgeon, who later became my husband. Unlike Rowan, he's a kind and supportive man who always has my back. Looking back, I take pride in my dad's high-ranking position, knowing it likely protected me from worse outcomes involving Barney's family. Their downfall serves as a reminder of how actions have consequences, and I am grateful for the stability and happiness I've found since.